Good evening, everybody. Hope you are all doing well. I want to welcome you to our session today and our talk. So just a quick note that you can ask your questions and polls using the Slido link. You can either scan the QR code here or access it through this code. Yeah, we'll wait for people to join. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce the talk. So we have Miloš here, and he is going to teach what we all want to achieve, is how to be a productive product manager. He's from the VP of product, is VP of product at Nutrient. And so we'll wait for more people to join. And whilst we do that, I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Sarah. I work at Product People as a product management consultant. I used to be in the medtech space, but found myself quickly in the project management, product management space. And yeah, it's been a incredible journey so far. What does Product People do? Now, we are an interim product management service. We provide product ops support, and this is how we make our money. But we also give back, and this is one of the ways that we give back right now is that we do these live streams. We do a lot of events and talks. So please look at our Product People, socials to look at these different events, and please join. So this is how we get back into the community. But now we really want to get to know you. And in essence of Miloš's talk that he's going to be doing today, we would like to know how productive you could be. So how did you start your day today? Is it A, you checked your Slacks, Teams or email? I am definitely that person. I think I also check that, so get touch on that. Scroll social media in bed, took a shower, did a morning routine, journaling or reading, meditated. Impressive to do that. So I'm gonna please answer your question there. There's a code there, scan the Slido, and we can see some of the results. Great. I will be tracking when they come in. Let's see.
Yeah, just scan the QR code and it says there are no polls.
Is the poll not live? Okay, let me just double check there.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I responded. I checked Slack the second I woke up.
Cool. We're just going to troubleshoot this. Okay, it should be there. Okay, so there is a heavy response of 40% on the scrolled social media. So, I mean, I could guess that. So, yeah. Thank you. The second close one is the Slack and Teams one. Okay, we're all pretty similar there. So thank you for responding to that. I think Miloš will definitely show us the actual way to start our day. And unfortunately, it seems that nobody seems to meditate. I think we should have a recheck on this one too. But great. Cool. Let's get in. So I'm going to now hand over to Miloš, who's had a very, very colorful career, wore very different hats, and now is in the product space. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Miloš, and really looking forward to your talk.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. The screen share is a bit weird, so you'll probably see a bunch of groups in my Chrome, but who cares? Hi. It's it's very hard to put everything I have to say on this topic in a relatively short presentation. And I need to make sure that I get to say the most important things. So let's dive in. Okay, who am I? The quick and dirty version, engineering background, but I've done things from marketing to sales, like I've done cold calling. I did startups several times. One was successful. That's the one that matters. I learned I want to do product management because of it. I lead a team of product managers at Nutrient, and we build developer tools around documents, have a bunch of integrations into various software ecosystems, and we also do workflow automation. If you have Dropbox on your phone and you open a PDF within, it's our tech driving it. We are also on a mission to change the way humans work with documents. But what really matters is I've been recognized in my social circles as a very productive person. And at some point, I co-founded a productivity community in Serbia and delivered a 4+ hour masterclass on how to 10x personal productivity without burning out. It's been praised by people who went through the course, and the community is still very much alive. I also hope you'll appreciate the minimal style of the slides. So let's go. Let's start this by talking about some myths on productivity and try to apply that to our world of product management. Productivity means doing more, and a productive PM ships more features. If you've read pretty much any source in the PM world, you've heard people say outcomes, not output. And this myth, it's really around the concept of output is great and busy work makes impact. Productivity is, of course, not about cramming more things to do into your day. It's also not about checking all check boxes. You know, if the to-do list is all done, you're productive. It's really about doing the right things, those that have the most impact. And you know intimately that saying no is often more productive than shipping one more thing that will help win one more deal. And if a product strategy is what helps us say no to things and focus on other things that actually matter, we as PMs should also need to build a productivity strategy that will help us optimize outcome over output. Myth number 2, you just need more discipline. You need motivation, and then you'll be productive. And in the PM world, I think we've all heard this, a PM with grit that hustles all the time is a productive PM. I also think this is a common startup mentality. PMs need to hustle to succeed. And that requires motivation and some crazy levels of discipline, as they call it, but really thinking it's working 12 hours a day minimum and being organized and chaotic at the same time or something. The truth is endless motivation doesn't scale, doesn't exist. And hustle can often get us from 0 to 1, but it hits walls or hits ceilings fairly fast. Also, relying on willpower or motivation is fragile, and hustling almost inevitably brings the B word, burnout. Productive PMs set up systems and stick to principles. Myth number 3, successful people do everything by themselves, or a successful PM owns or controls everything that matters. Without going too much into definition of success, the myth here is really that you just have to do it yourself if you want whatever you define as quality, speed, or whatever metrics you tend to set for getting things done the right way. What this myth really does, it romanticizes burnout. In reality, the most productive people probably delegate, automate, collaborate. They preserve their energy for whatever, their zone of genius, let's say. The best PMs, I strongly believe, delegate decisions to empower teams. They clarify ownership and scale through trust and alignment, not micromanagement. While controlling PMs tend to take too much on themselves and get overwhelmed and burned out or booed out fairly quickly. Myth number 4, you need to find the perfect tool, and in our PM world, it's like you need the right tool. You need Notion, you need Linear, you need, I don't know, this or that AI tool, right? This is the just use AI and you'll be more productive argument, right? Honestly, obsessing over apps and tooling is actually a form of procrastination, delaying work. And right now, as AI is disrupting everything and keeps bringing productivity benefits in things that were generally not that hard but took time, it's so easy to get lost. Tools are popping up left and right. You need to spend the time to do research, onboard to new tools almost weekly at this point. And the truth is, a tool is only as effective as the system behind using the tool and the people or person using the tool. If your system is bad, you're not focusing on the right thing, the tool won't matter. Productivity myth number whatever. This is really about making any definitive statements around productivity. For example, productive people, you can't be productive if you're not an early riser. Early rising is no prerequisite for success. Productivity depends on knowing your own rhythms, designing a day that works for your energy, your life context. Productivity is like, it's personal, isn't it? We're all different. Something that will work for me won't necessarily work for you. I leave this ambiguous myth here because I really want to emphasize that the path to productivity is the same as the path to good product. And that is experimentation. End of day, you got to figure out what works for you. And that might not be definitive. You should keep pushing yourself to improve your productivity, even when it feels you've climbed the staircase. So let's talk about what makes PMs unproductive. Let's ask this question first. What do PMs have a tendency to do? For the team, run the daily startup. I mean, you know this, it happens. You're working with a team or teams, you sometimes run the daily startup, or often, because I mean, who else has all that insight and who has the big picture? You act as the team secretary. You pick things up all the time. Hey, can you look into this for me, for us? That's a familiar question, right? You play backlog janitor because, things got to shine in that thing anytime anyone wants to look at a ticket. What about the org? PMs tend to project manage because who would do it better? The team lead, tech lead, project manager? Again, who has all the context and the big picture and strategy? Who cares more about the initiative getting done than us, product managers? Do some old-fashioned requirements gathering? I mean, salesperson doesn't understand the use case that well. It's really us who need to figure this all out, right? And then serve as a Q&A machine. I mean, who's at the center of all knowledge? Marketing, business, sales, pricing, packaging. Hello. And for themselves, document everything, make it shine, polish it more, amazing colors, columns, tables, headings, horizontal rules. I happen to like that one. Illustrations, AI generated, of course. Sounds familiar? Yes. It's a product owner. That thing that Scrum gave birth to and that has made much confusion in the product world and sort of still does. But why? Why do PMs do this? Let's talk about expectations. It's always something about expectations and not setting them right. Product manager, despite not really being a new role in the world, especially in tech, is still extremely undefined. Outside of the basics, the fundamentals, if you will, I think there's a crazy lack of canon methodology and there's a lot of role confusion. And it's a problem that permeates many industries, many organizations, and it's what ends up making product managers very unproductive. I mean, there's people who hire PMs and just throw everything at them. Yeah, that's not going to be a productive PM. But there's also something around personality as well. When it comes to personality reasons, if you will, doing product owner work, it feels safe because there are clear deliverables. The progress is visible. It's relatively easy to measure. The team is happy. The org is happy. Sales is happy as we're answering any question under the sun. But it's a vortex that sucks away productivity because besides being a career trap for product managers, productive PM work, I think it's meant to feel a bit uncomfortable. Why? Because real PM work is dealing with unclear, ambiguous problems, stuff that it's hard to pinpoint, stuff that's hard to clarify 100%. The outcomes are mostly uncertain. There's things like trade-offs that tend to be hard and they tend to happen often. So all of this stems from the fact that PMs are there for the business. Let me stop here for a moment. Just a reminder. Yeah, we're there to make the customer happy. We're there to solve their problems, but in a way that moves the needle for the business. And business is very unpredictable. Shout out to PMs in places that don't honor the business aspect of the role. I borderline suggest describing what you do every day to ChatGPT and asking it to tell you if you're a product manager or something else. It could help at least gain some perspective on your own productivity. But I've been told if this is how it feels, let's say unsafe or at least uncomfortable, it's probably because you're doing it right. So let's ask the question, what should PMs do instead? So instead of doing safe product owner work, PMs should likely spend time with customers, with users. That time spent polishing the rock that is the backlog or internal documentation. Then figure out what is the most rewarding problem or problems to solve. Cut through that noise. And then work on aligning stakeholders. Talk about being the glue. It's not about being in the center of it all. It's not about being in the middle of things, in the center of decision making and knowledge. It's about using your influence to get people to align, making outcomes clear, org-wide, and then setting some guardrails. Leave the scope to empower product teams, leave it to engineers. Just make sure they understand those guardrails. If you're going to document things meticulously, make that documenting decisions and trade-offs that you've made and evolve that. End of day, ship value, right? You've learned about the user, you've gotten stakeholder perspective, you're tackling high impact problems and giving clear outcomes and guardrails to the product team. You then own that outcome and leave delivery to delivery. All this means create, ship, if you will, product strategy. That's what this is. It's strategy. I feel like I can't continue to talk about PM productivity without setting a sort of a benchmark, a definition, if you will. Now, let's be clear. This is going to be my definition that comes from my experience and my understanding of the insights I picked up from other people's experiences. So what does it mean to be productive? Productive people continuously and successfully optimize for impact over busy work. That means that it's really not about being efficient. It's not about being effective, as efficiency is often a prerequisite to be effective. It's to have impact, whatever that means. But it requires saying F off to doing busy work that doesn't move the needle. What about us in product management? Productive product managers continuously and successfully optimize their entire world in a way that they can deliver strategy, which I've just sort of tried to explain is really the job. I wrote on LinkedIn, by the way, when I announced this webinar, that I won't really be around just use AI kind of a productivity talk, and I really do intend to honor this. To be clear, I am all about AI in my life and work. Like, I've been using it pretty much since day one, definitely an advanced, if not a pro user. I've used it programmatically, used Agentic. I've just spent my vacation vibe coding an app that takes care of a very big personal problem of mine, where I saved myself so much frustration, so many hours. I've built a SaaS for a friend, like 100% of it, only using AI. But I don't want to talk about that. AI right now is changing everything, but I want to stick to what is universal. And what I believe AI won't change, but it will rather enable, improve, facilitate, and just make some things possible. So when it comes to AI, that's it. That's the advice. Be aware of it. If not already, become fluent, AI fluent, with a bunch of tools. Spend some time, learn, apply to you. I think AI won't save you if you don't know what you're trying to do. So let's move on to what I think is universal when AI stands to help but not do, as it's really us that need to do. I'm going to set some principles for productivity that I personally rely on every day. And I strongly believe that they are so universal, they could unlock productivity for anyone, anywhere, in any role. Then I'll talk about the things I do to honor those principles and how I'm trying to coach my team around those principles. It's relatively simple. Just three things: radical focus, regular retrospective, discipline. So let's talk about it a little bit. We all know what strategy is. We all know how important it is, but without execution, strategy is nothing. Dead letters on a piece of paper, wasted memory space on a hard drive. Execution of things that matter, things that are strategic, if you will, can only be ensured with radical focus. It means, and this is the point, not doing certain things that don't contribute to strategy. Honestly, I continue to see people break on this one every day, and I tend to break on radical focus as well. But retrospective, it's very important for me to know when I'm breaking on radical focus. This is the only way I can learn what to do differently in order to actually focus. And especially for PMs, if you're waiting on someone else to tell you that you're not focusing on the right thing, you should probably reconsider your career choice, because a PM has to be proactive. And this goes for looking inwards as well as having an internal dialogue with oneself around impact. It's about being honest with yourself and setting realistic expectations and then measuring how you fare against those expectations. Sounds familiar? Yes, it's just like you would run product experimentation. Set some assumptions, use data, be smart about it, measure, reflect, stop the experiment mid-progress if needed, and pivot. And finally, discipline. It really comes down to showing up every day to do radical focus and reflection, because you don't want to optimize for short-term impact only. You want to have continuous impact. And this requires being disciplined in not doing busy work, output, rather focusing on impactful, strategically important work and continuously experimenting to get to those outcomes. So let's go through some specific steps we can use to win our own productivity and help our peers do the same. We'll start with radical focus. The formula is simple: prepare, plan, execute. Boom. If you want to achieve radical focus, emphasis is on radical. You really need to figure out what you will do and what you will not be doing, like stuff you will say no to. Sounds simple enough, but then let's welcome other people's expectations, your current situation, lack of role clarity. You really need to prepare the playing field. Skip this step, you're going to fail. Skipping this step means not having the tough conversations with your product leader, the CEO, stakeholders, the board, around what is it that you should be doing. And it's really not about asking the question, what are the expectations? It's actively working on setting them. So being proactive, creating a job spec, if you will. Use the knowledge you have about the organization, the industry, the market. Fight the admin work, product owner stuff. Present a list of things and ask, do you agree? Work with people to fine-tune that spec, optimize it, and finally align around what the priorities really are. The output here, at least in the what really matters realm, is documented expectations plus some sort of high-level goals for you, your product org, the teams you work with, that reflect on your role in particular. And the outcome here is you've at least started, because this likely doesn't just end after one iteration, to get role clarity and clearly set expectations. But what is more important, you've built a fighting chance for yourself, at least to not do product owner work, which I consider the serial killer of PM productivity. It basically unlocks the true ability for you to plan. Plans, amazing thing, right? Love and hate. What matters isn't the plan itself. It's not even executing the plan 100%, anything like that. What matters is that you create a framework that will help you do your PM work in accordance to the role expectations and achieve the desired impact. So not necessarily a plan, more like a framework. What do you need to plan for? A productive PM, the one that continues to deliver strategy by optimizing their world, needs to build and evolve a framework to manage inputs, attention, and energy. Let's start with inputs. I strongly believe that a lot of PMs aren't really unproductive. They're just overwhelmed by unfiltered inputs, context switching, DMs, endless backlogs. They all dilute focus. This can be solved by having a capture system. For PMs that don't really use a system for this, I strongly recommend starting with GTD, get things done. The principle would be to use a single trusted inbox, whatever, Notion, Jira, Todoist, reminders, iPhone, nobody cares. Capture all inputs, task, idea, bug, insight, open loop that require your attention, but then follow GTD steps to prioritize and decide what to do. This is the important part. Also, what not to do. And don't decide in the moment. In the beginning, you just capture. Obviously, you should use LLMs or LLM power tools to summarize Slack threads, automate prioritization and capture. Pick one, test, figure out what works for you. If you're well-versed in tooling already, like NA10 or something, build your own little GTD funnel for capture and start your day by having your workflow recommend your focus areas. Also, always remember, AI tools are input amplifiers, so use them to clarify things, but not just to automate. Could be flaws. But before all that, you go ahead and pick a system. There are many, and stick to it or evolve it. If it doesn't work, go to the next one. Again, strong recommendation, GTD. Talking about attention, the point is you don't need more hours. You need sharper decisions, and it's really about managing your attention. For example, for product planning, you'd pick 3 priorities that will truly move the needle out of like 10 things that make sense business-wise. Right? Do the same thing for your own work. This is something you should be doing for your day, for your week, your month, your quarter. And, don't plan anything for more than a quarter because you're not really an oracle, seriously. I'd recommend a combination of 2 frameworks to help you manage your attention, so GTD and PARA. Where GTD helps you be tactical around what to focus on, PARA will help you with information and cutting through the noise so you can focus on signals that matter. PARA essentially helps you classify information related to things that matter, projects, areas, resources, and there's an archive. Google it, or even better, LLM it. Ask the LLM to help you apply it in your work or to propose a more optimal system. Also, make sure to identify things that pulled your attention and forced you to context switch. Delegate everything and anything you can to AI. This is where having a system like PARA that helps with proper classification of information is paramount. Any AI is as good as the input data. For example, as my team was overwhelmed with questions about products, licensing, packaging, etc., and we have a lot of products and functional components, we agreed in the product org that we will create these elaborate FAQs in Notion that target common questions. And now we delegate everything to Notion AI. And our colleagues know that before they ask the team, they just ask Notion AI. And the results are very good. And finally, energy. You're human. You are not a machine. Burned out PMs kill momentum. Sustained output requires rhythm. There's a plethora of systems and methodologies that will help you manage your energy throughout the day, or a week, or a 2-week sprint, whatever iteration means for you, right? A quick and dirty recommendation is to work in focused sprints, focused time blocks, if you will, and then rest, then repeat, because energy is sort of cyclical. Don't just hustle, iterate, rest. Your inner system needs deep work blocks, right? No meetings, notifications are snoozed. Shallow work blocks, like use that to triage insights, deal with pings from stakeholders, and then have those recovery blocks. Walk, do some journaling, have some thinking time, whatever you do to relax. For example, I play music. So plan your time and attention in a way that works for you. By the way, all of this is there to help you focus, okay? You can't focus on the right inputs if you don't know what the right inputs are. So you need a system. You can't focus your attention to things that matter if you're not assessing things. You need a system. And if you don't manage your energy, you'll burn out. So you need at least an approach to managing your energy. Better, a system. Execution. If you're anything like me, you'll take a lot of pleasure from just building out the framework. So much, really, that it could delay execution. It's really procrastination. And that's like the biggest enemy of productivity. So stop polishing the rock, and whatever framework you've chosen, combination of systems, AI workflows, just execute it immediately. No need to wait for anything. No need to wait on anyone. It's how experimentation works. Apply the MVP logic. If you're not embarrassed by it, you probably launched too late. Here's a summary. Prepare, plan, execute. Have the tough conversations, create that framework, and then just go do. And you're likely going to be repeating this because nothing just happens in a single iteration. You just can't deal with this easily and immediately. So we don't learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. The notion here is that you can't meaningfully improve something if you're not inspecting it. And I think it's worth saying that productivity is not perfection. It's more like it's consistent clarity of direction, and the direction doesn't have to be a constant. It's continuously course corrected. You know this. It's like you're already doing micro experiments. Think about product bets, and you review the impact of these. You can apply the exact same principle to your personal impact, which is sort of aligned with productivity. The formula here will be self-reflect, do it often, and then act on results or course correct, right? You can start by scheduling a weekly self-retro, as in block the time in your calendar, like 30 minutes. Pick the best day for this, Friday or Monday, I don't know. Sometimes you'll want things fresh, but sometimes you'll actually need that weekend to organize your thoughts and whatnot. And then ask these questions. What did I actually do? What moved the needle? What didn't? What distracted me? What did I avoid doing and why? And be honest with yourself. If you're struggling to remember what you've done during the week, here's a mechanism we use at Nutrient. As we're a remote company with 30 plus countries represented and a bunch of time zones, we do an inventory of activities every day. We call this Out for Today. And while ours focuses more on highlights, stuff you'd like others to know, and it has links and references and stuff, you can be more detailed and add some flavor to it. Like, how did you feel about things? If you're documenting activities, AI can help you with analysis, make you awesome at it too, especially if you're instructing the LLM well. What you get as output is a matrix that shows you what you did contributed to outcomes or how they didn't, to which you can attach a course correction note, if you will. That's basically, this is what I'll do differently moving forward. And the outcome is that clarity of direction every week. And that's what productivity is really about. That means less autopilot and more intentional progress through optimization of your own activities, with the end goal, of course, of making impact as a product manager, not doing product owner work. A quick and dirty explanation of reflection is basically measure things so that you prove or disprove that you're doing radical focus. How often? How often should you do it? While I've recommended doing it weekly, here, for example, you might want to do it more often or less often. It's up to you. The best thing you'll do is to just start doing it, and you'll figure out the frequency. Build a reminder for yourself. Block the time in the calendar. Make a system for you, a framework that works for you, questions that work for you, right? Use tools. Don't rely on tools. Remember, tools, you're doing the work. You are doing the work. Productivity is personal. That's why all those definitive statements are myths. It's really about you. The most important thing about retro is you just need to do it. Finally, discipline. I won't say it's important you show up every day and do radical focus, and then you also need to self-reflect, but you need to be continuously doing it, and that's discipline. Yeah, sure. But that's not the point. I don't want to talk about brute force discipline. Forcing yourself to do things all the time. Forcing yourself, hello, burnout. Okay? Nope. I don't think that's discipline. But the truth is, without discipline, radical focus dies after day one, and retrospectives become wish lists, backlog, icebox. You don't really want to keep doing your job, especially when the noise screams. How should I put this? You want to keep doing product manager's work, especially when the noise screams louder. People asking for things, team having expectations. But it's not about forcing yourself to do things all the time, playing good cop, bad cop with yourself, or whipping yourself to burnout. Like, you don't get a cupcake, in the evening if you don't do this. So let's try to define what really is the goal of discipline. It's really about designing your environment so that doing the right thing, radical focus, becomes the easiest thing. How? How do we do this? How do we get to sustained productivity through discipline? We need to rely on some innate strengths of our role, and we need to push ourselves to develop the strengths we don't exhibit. We need systematic thinking because we want to build the world, optimizing the world, where radical focus and reflection happen by design. So it's not about zooming out and treating your work it's not about zooming in, pardon me. and figuring out like the nuance. It's about zooming out, really. It's looking at things, looking at your own work, your own to-do lists, your the requests, the stuff that you go through every day, as if it's a product, it's a system, it's a machine that works. Ask these questions. Where are the bottlenecks? What breaks under load? What's missing feedback loops? Just imagine it's a product. And it means thinking in systems. It means thinking in systems, not tasks, and building workflows that reduce noise and increase clarity. Just like we did with those FAQs in Notion, it's a system that solves a problem. Now, you'll be drowning in one-on-one calls when you don't know the context. It's frustrating, right? Create a form for people to provide info for you before the meeting. Context switching all the time? Yeah. Route inputs to a unified inbox. Apply PARA and GTD. Process it once or twice a day. It will help you set course. What is that? It's a system. Systematic PMs scale themselves, while others probably burn out. We need habits and routines to set sensible defaults that remove decision fatigue. For example, not feeling bad for not doing certain things. Habits are these small actions repeated regularly, but routines are deliberate patterns that we build to automate productivity. They create rhythm and they reduce mental effort. What happens without routines? You start your day by opening the inbox, reading emails, or you read a Slack thread. Hey, a question, something to do for someone. Boom, you've spent half of your day realizing somebody else's goals. Basically, without routines, your time gets hijacked, while having them helps you create momentum so you don't have to keep restarting work. And then there's trigger-based productivity, where we get to pair behaviors with cues so that we don't have to rely on willpower or motivation, which doesn't scale. Willpower is limited, not to mention how this looks like for PMs who deal with decision fatigue. It's awful. Triggers help. It's a hack. It's a way to condition yourself to act on cues like an autopilot rather than rely on making a decision to do the right thing. If you implement this, you can basically remove friction between intention and action. So how do you do it? First of all, you can design your own behavior just like you design UX flows. Make the right action frictionless and automate it as much as possible. Instead of saying, I need to be more disciplined, I need to end my day with a quick retro, say, after I post my out for today, I spend 5 minutes to do a quick retro. It's a trigger. And then you figure out which triggers can work for you. After the first coffee, after the daily stand-up, after the last meeting of the day, I don't know, Thursday, 10 a.m. reminder that runs weekly. And look, I've spent countless hours building and evolving my productivity stack. I've built systems and still they fail, but I keep evolving them, innovating. They're products too. I mean, only for Insight Collection at Nutrient, I've changed 4 systems so far. No matter what I've done, we just can't make our sales team to provide certain quality of information. So we've created this Chrome extension that just does all that for them by scraping Salesforce. Keep asking CS and sales, what's the deal size? We kept asking this for like years. We ended up vibe coding a Slack bot that unfurls Salesforce opportunity links with every piece of info we need. They just need to paste the damn link. We are optimizing our world so that we're not wasting time on waste that doesn't move the needle. And sometimes that means building habits for others by, building software. It's actually easy today, as long as you're being mindful of your customers' data. You use LLMs, use Claude Code. Believe it or not, that's it. So TLDR, how to be a productive product manager, my take on it, don't do product ownership work. So instead, do radical focus. Make sure you know the priorities, pick the priorities, align on priorities, and then manage inputs, manage attention, make sure you manage your energy because you're human, you're not a robot. And then eventually make sure you actually execute because strategy without execution, nothing, dead letter. Do regular self-reflection so you can learn how you fare against those expectations and priorities. And remember, you've had the tough conversation, you've set those. And then self-correct, course correct all the time. Finally, discipline yourself, but not by forcing yourself to do things, right? Build systems, build frameworks, develop habits and routines that protect you from, life draining, life power draining things that you have to do when people ask you to do it. And finally, hack your productivity by setting triggers, because they help you work on autopilot and not burn out or get fatigued because you just have to make the decision to not do something all the damn time. And that actually all means continuously and successfully optimize your entire world in a way that you can do what your job really is, and that is to deliver strategy. I asked ChatGPT to, review my presentation, and it actually threw shade at one thing, and that's the minimalism of my slides. So it insisted I visualized at least this TLDR, and I told it to do it for me, and this is the output. And I'd love to use it as a backdrop for Q&A if we have it.
Great. Miloš, that was honestly amazing. I definitely have some tips from you that I definitely need to take on board. And I already see that there's a flood of questions already that are coming in. So we'll get to them quickly. But for the rest that want to ask questions to Miloš, please scan this QR code. Or go to the link and put the code in, and you can go and ask your questions. In the meantime, I just want to quickly speak about product people. Just some use cases on when to engage with us. So for interim product manager, this can be whilst you're hiring, or parental covers, or even some urgent initiatives to program management or product operations, or also just to transform acceleration. So shift your sales and tech lead to a product lead led organization. Here are just some of our clients that we have worked with. So here's our B2C clients and some of our B2B clients, and just some of our stats here. We've had 690 plus cross-functional teams supported, 100 plus clients from Series A startups to publicly listed companies. We are a team of 40 product leaders and product managers, in-house and full-time, which ensures that we are there and have a great quality of service with our clients. And we are 59% women in the team, and 60% in leadership. So there's a strong bias there to promote within our firm and attract more women. So that is also a really good stat there. But I know there are questions that are burning and need to be asked. So Miloš, I'm going to start with them. So what would you recommend to PMs that also have some neurodivergence like ADHD, etc., those kind of conditions?
Okay, let me start by admitting I don't really work with PMs per se that are neurodivergent, but I do work with people who are, so I can sort of focus on that. I think for ADHD, for example, specifically, I know the thing that works is using some external triggers, like visual boards, like recurring checklists, automations, and then what also works is not looking at things far, right? Shortening the cycles, planning cycles. Don't plan the quarter, plan for today. Focus on today. And then I guess you can hack your, this is productivity one-on-one. It's like not one size fits all. You really need to keep hacking yourself, because you're also a system. You need to try multiple things until you get there. So I would try any possible trigger-based habit to sort of remove that need for executive function. That sort of comes hard, I think, for people with ADHD. And then there's tools, I believe, that can help, but I don't know them off the top of my head, to be honest. I'd gladly follow up on this question because it actually started my own curiosity as well. But the point is, maybe end this with, don't try to fix your brain. That's not going to happen. Use whatever strengths you have. You either have creativity, or you can hyper focus. You have out of this world pattern recognition. I mean, this is what people with ADHD, they come with a superpower, right? So focus on that. Build all those habits and triggers around that.
Great. Thank you. I'm interested to see your further research on that. But yeah, I think that is how you ended that was really profound. I want to go into the next question, which I know you spoke about a lot in your presentation, about the PM versus product owner work, and distinguishing the roles and responsibilities there. So I think this leads into the next one, is that what if we don't have a product owner currently to help with this work? What would your action items or next steps be for my situation here? And how can what would you do to approach this?
I know it's hard to challenge the dogma that these things need to get done. The PO stuff, right? I know it's hard, but and I have to say, we don't have product owners at all, right? So I'll tell you what we do at Nutrient. We negotiate with other leaders of product teams, the team leads, for example, right? It's like, yes, it's sort of on you to protect the team's clarity, but not their velocity, if that makes any sense. And I think, actually, here's a practical, I'll try a practical advice. Set up a 15-minute weekly review with the team, and do retro. What moved the needle, what didn't move the needle, what's unclear. Focus on that. And then articulate some sort of a Notion doc or a Google doc or something that communicates what we're building and why we're building it, right? Because that then reduces 30%, 50, maybe 90% of potential confusion, right? And use those retros, right? Not just to manage delivery, but make sure you touch on priority and clarity, right? And don't allow interruptions. I think in the absence of a product owner focused role that does that in an org that has a dogma that it has to be done like that, I think it's your job to then ask better questions and not to keep giving more answers, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, perfect sense. Thanks for clarifying that. I'm going to go to the next question, which is about the focus blocks. So I know this was an important aspect as well that you mentioned, to help with productivity. So this question goes, what if I do not have the time for focus blocks? What would be the best way to approach this with the ways of working and with my boss, to get this time and not be stuck in meetings per se or whatnot?
It's hard to not think that that's a myth, but I will take it at face value. I think I already said it during the presentation. You don't need more time, right? You just need sharper decisions. You need protected time. I don't know. Can you at least try with 90 minutes, let's say 3 times a week? That's it. Here, go to your boss, manager, right? And say, I've noticed that I'm most valuable to the team. Let's say you're adjacent to a team when I'm working through strategy, writing docs, or making clarity for others. But my week is just too fragmented, right? I'd love you to support me to block 90 minutes a few times a week to do deep work so that I can drive the outcomes we both care about. Boom. And that it frames things. You're showing ownership, and you're focused on the value, and it's not just a request for silence during the week. I get to chill.
100%. And I think that leads into the next question here, which is, what are your non-negotiables within your calendar to help your productivity journey? So what is your non-negotiable that you set in place on your personal calendar there, or work calendar?
Well, this is such an evolving framework for me, so I'll just focus on where I'm at the moment. This has been a constant, actually, like deep work, focused work, blocks early during the day, before all that context switching actually like eats my time, steals my brain power, like eats me alive, right? I prefer mostly Mondays to do weekly reviews, so I leave some time for that, like 20 minutes, so that I can course correct, clean up some open loops. I don't do it on Friday because I'm exhausted. Otherwise, I'd probably do it on a Friday. And then this is what varies, I think, like these recurring I'm the CEO of my own job sort of check-ins, where I just need to ask myself, am I just doing things? Like, am I just doing busy work, or am I actually moving the needle? I think those are the guardrails, and everything else is flexible. But these, for me at least, they sort of anchor the week.
Great. I think it's always a struggle to do those blocks sometimes on a Friday, but sometimes that's also the time one gets. But thanks for giving your non-negotiables, and we're also eager to learn how this evolves as well. So keep us updated about that. And I think the last question I'd like to ask is, what have been any courses or books that you recommend that has helped your productivity journey that we could also recommend to the other viewers here?
Well, to be frank, I started slowly transitioning from books to just LLMs. I apologize if this sounds controversial, but LLMs have kind of eaten up all the knowledge of the world. Some, by prompting LLMs and putting the context of my day and work and market and whatnot, putting my knowledge as context, has given me much more than I think I get from books. So I do want to say I've completed the CPO accelerator with Melissa Perry. She has been amazing. I really have just praise for her. She's very experienced, and I gladly follow her, gladly read her emails and stuff that she's, I think, recently posting on LinkedIn. So I definitely recommend Melissa Perry. She's already very much recognized in the product world. On the other hand, while at some point I've drowned myself in books, Marty Kagan and like Transformed, I think is the last one I've bought. Like I have the ebook version, and I've bought like there was a pre-order for the paper version. And I really don't have anything bad to say about these books, quite the contrary. But I feel like I'm getting more value from business-oriented books recently than I get from, let's say, product management-oriented books. One of the ones that I would recommend instantly is 50 Business Classics. It's like a summary of how people have succeeded, what challenges they've overcome, and it's so educational. And I think a lot of us, especially like in the tech world, engineering world, we tend to forget that product management is really about business, and this really sort of pushes us back on track and pushes us to think in business goals rather than, I just want to build cool stuff and solve, impactful things for customers and, anybody else who wants to pay.
Great, thanks. It's definitely on my next to read then, those two books. So thank you for sharing. We're going to wrap up. And so I just wanted to let you all know that we are currently hiring. So you can scan the QR code here on the left to check any of the positions. And then on the right, you can subscribe to our newsletter. I just also want to give one last big virtual round of applause to Miloš. Thank you for sharing all your insights. I know I've learned a lot from you, and I will definitely be taking some of those tips forward. And I'm sure a lot of the viewers, they've already commented here that the presentation was great. So thank you so much for dedicating your time and sharing us the evolving journey of productivity, especially as new tools come in and best practices and whatnot. So thank you again. Great. And then the next week we will be having the evolution of the product manager role. This will be presented by Kirill Gamazinkov. I hope I'm saying that right. Who's a product director and CPO and group product manager. This will be next week, so tune in there. So thank you again, Miloš, and please, keep us updated on this journey, and we will be sure to keep you updated on ours. And for everyone else here, you can check our Product People podcast. You can also chat with us with all these different links. So feel free to connect. We are always eager. We're keen to do some knowledge sharing wherever possible, and also join us at our next event. You can also there's also a link to that there. Thank you again. Thank you, Miloš. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for everything. And there's really actionable tips, which is really great. It's not just here's the information, but here's actually what we can do and the next steps and approach. Great.
Nice to meet you. I hope we speak again. Ciao.
Yeah.